was fortunate enough to study with Milton Glaser in School of Visual Arts in New York 20 years ago, just on a workshop thing. And we defined, for the purpose of the workshop, which may well be every workshop he defines, was design was a meaningful intervention in process. So something started without us, something will finish without us, and what we do is we come along in the middle of it all and interfere with it. And the best way of interfering is to interfere well. You know, you try to get rid of all the crap, you know, you try to get some clear thinking, you try to get people to agree to the purpose of what we're doing and why we're doing it. Remove all the other agendas, you know, are they going to keep their job if they, that sort of thing. And then clear the ground for a reasonably simple way of making design decisions. And all the things that have worked best. You know, and I've done some rubbish, you know, partly my own fault and partly I could blame others for. But by and large, the clear works, the ones that sort of survive in time and outside of fashion and things like that, tend to have been done when the ground's been cleared. There's no other agenda. I think the interesting thing is that it's something that I still can find interest in doing something very simply as I can, even after 40 years now, whether that, or 50 years or however long it happens to have been, and whether that's because I'm a very simple person and easily entertained, or whether there's something, you know, fundamental about just doing it. I don't know. I wouldn't want to do it for big corporations anymore. And it's just a personal thing. And I really enjoy the people that I currently, well, mostly always work with. You know, it's about doing work for others, and the others are important. I've only ever worked, I mean, when I had jobs, they were all big companies. BHP, the biggest company in Australia then. The Australian Department of Trade is the government, and it's pretty big. The advertising agencies I worked at in those days, J. Walter Thompson's and USP Needham, were the biggest ones around. When I've had the consultancy, I've worked for large companies, large corporate design. I mean, I've done the corporate design for Yarra Valley Water and Main Logistics and Ansett, and they're all big. But always in them, the best work you could do would be for a single individual. So unless you're really working for the CEO of a company, it's going to be frustrating, because you're working for people who are second guessing all the time. They're looking after their own jobs, they're looking after the thing, they want to look good up there, and they want to look good below, you know, they're in that middle level thing. And I find that just an almost impossible way to work in terms of meeting my agenda, which is to do something very simply, very personally, and then get on to the next thing. I don't think there's any room for pretension in the business, to pretend to be something, to pretend to do that, to pretend to do it, because otherwise you end up with pretentious design if you do that. You know, the design won't look honest and it won't have any integrity. You have a responsibility not to be, you know, sort of dishonest about things. I think we have a responsibility to be clear about things, think about things. This is a good thing about the computer, is that you can get stuff visually to a level that you can edit yourself. In the early days of paper and cutting paper and specifying type and sending it out, you could never review your own work in time. And the whole, you know, the thing would come out and think, oh shit, I know, I could have done better, but you'd already spent a month cutting up bits of paper and doing it, you know, and you're committed to deadlines and things. But I find the computer now, I can test ideas, you know, they might start off on the shower screen, you know, with just a simple... the computer has this great facility to manifest ideas, and you can compare them. I wouldn't be working commercially now, to the extent that I am, which is for people I like, on jobs that I like, because I could choose not to. I find that a great joy, but I find the best thing about being able to is to self-edit before anyone else gets to it. That's terrific, you know. I think there's too much stuff, so I don't do much. you know, you can't, you know, the less is more. I mean, it's an old cliche, but there's a book by Edward de Bono called Simple. And he says that if you want to get things simple, and you have to put a high value on it. And most of our culture doesn't put a high value on simplicity. It puts high value on other things. So there's usually too much of everything. Too much choice, too much, you know. And that seems to be self-perpetuating. I mean, it gets more and more and more. I think that if everything is taken back to its simplest possible level, people say, oh, well, you know, how does that enrich your life, or does this or that? I'm not quite sure. But all I know is that as things get more complicated, they get less understandable. They're further from the truth, whatever the truth happens to be. But simple is very close to true. Meaningful intervention in process. There you go. Yeah. That's the working definition. I just do it, generally speaking. I mean, I very rarely talk about it. I've lived under the radar as long as I possibly can. It's a life. And at the end of so I shouldn't say it's the end of the day, because the dog's got 15 years and so have I reckon. So we're going to go out together. That's the purpose of him.